All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Ordinary Gamer Show with me, EC Rooster, and of course, the always wonderful, always resplendent, wearing his best nightgown, Mr. Ender. We won't call him Faux Ender anymore because he can't stand it, as we talked about last episode. So we'll just start calling you Ender. I'll try my best, because I love calling you Faux, because I like hearing you get mad. But we do whatever. Speaking of mad, I was forced to watch 50 Shades of Grey this past week. It
Are you
was released.
serious?
I was anything for pussy, as Pablo. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody brought their kid. Like, I gotta go see that movie. I don't care. That kid's coming with me. but so I'm sitting there, and on screen there's just boobies and man bush galore. Just boobies and man bush, and I'm just like, okay, I'm watching a Cinemax. Like, I'm watching the Cinemax shows that I wasn't supposed to watch when I was 15, late at night, and now I'm doing it publicly. So what was really funny though to me was the nervous laughter, like, of everybody in the theater when like they would like, he would like flip her over and like dominate her or something. And everyone was like, oh, yeah, that's so dumb. But like, I couldn't believe that how they were just complete liars. Every single person and whoever watches 50 Shades of Grey, if you nervously laugh in that theater, you're a freaking liar, because you know you read the book and you know you came to see, you knew what that movie was. You didn't come to that movie like, oh, I didn't know, like, oh, and I'm just gonna nervously laugh like, oh, and you fan yourself. Don't lie. Don't do that. You might as well. If you come, just come in there and say, yeah. Like, I would respect the grown ass woman who comes in and is like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, man bush. Like, if she would have done that, I would have been really like, okay, you're an adult. You know how to handle this. You came into the theater and you knew what you were seeing. You weren't pretending, doing that whole social thing of like, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, I was forced to watch it. Much better than the book, though. I highly recommend any softcore porn aficionados go watch 50 Shades of Grey. Am I giving too much information here? Am I as a man who likes to be informed, Ender? I happen to have. I went to a thrift store and there was 50 Shades of Grey. There's 50 Shades. Okay, fine. I pre-ordered it. I pre-ordered it new. Yeah, hardback.
Edition signed copy.
Yeah, signed copy. It came with a whip. Like, when you buy it, it just came. And I was just like, yeah. And of course I nervously laughed when I opened it. I'm a prude. I mean, I would never actually want to watch or read. No, but I tried to read the book. Here, let me finish the story though before you start thinking I read the book. I got 40 pages into it. I got 50 pages into 50 Shades of Grey when I said, screw this garbage. You would not believe the dialogue in this book of like, she blossomed like a springing pea in the summertime. It was like weird stuff. I don't know if that's a real line, but that's about, like, it was like stuff like, the peanut was sprouting. Or she was talking about biting nipples a lot too in the book. A lot of biting of nipples. It was just too much for me, and I started nervously laughing I couldn't stop giggling like a schoolgirl when I read it. So I put it down, and I went to read something else, which I think is far more literary. I went and read I don't have a joke. Motley Crue biography, much more literary. Yeah, not nearly as sexual as that. Anyways, welcome to the show. That's we're the Ordinary Gamers Show from theordinarygamer.com, and let's get back to games. 50 Shades. Actually, you know what? Should there be a 50 Shades of Grey game? Now that I'm thinking about it, would you play that?
A game?
Would you play a video game?
I don't think so. No.
I would. I mean, how would you do it? Like, would it be like, you gotta whip your spouse for like coins, and the coins you can buy more whips? Like, how does it work?
It'd be like when you fight, like when you play a Street Fighter, it has that super long combo. That's how you have sex. Do the buttons just right.
Oh my lord, that would be. You know what? What's so bad though is I actually see this being a game in Japan. At some point, Japan will make a 50 Shades of Grey game. They'll call it like Lust for Love, because they always change the name, and it'll be like, yeah, a combo, like you just press A and B on the arcade machine, and and like you gotta like essentially dominate your spouse. Or you could play the submissive. Maybe you can like get an achievement for playing through the story mode of the spouse and the story mode of the achievement. And it will be an achievement, because if they keep the game dialogue faithful to the book, you've earned that achievement. My god, that is the most boring book I've ever read. But anyways, the movie is actually not that bad if you like softcore porn, and if you like sitting in a crowded theater with 40-year-old women with children who pretend like they don't know what they're watching. You'll love it. But big thing that as soon as we got on, you were complaining about the weekly heroic matchmaking that they just added to Destiny. What's going on there?
Well, they added the matchmaking, and I'm not really going to say I'm complaining about it, but exactly what I thought was going to be the problem to having matchmaking was the first thing that happened. Like I got in to the weekly heroic, with two random guys from the matchmaking, and as soon as we start, they both leave. Well, that kind of screws you over. Like, you're playing with people you don't know that maybe don't have an interest in it, or I don't know. They just left all of a sudden. And like, what if that happens when you're halfway through? Because those of you that have done weekly heroics know, like, some of these you can do with two people. Some of them, if you take it really slow, you can even do with one. But it's just so much harder. Like, some of these you really need 3 people for them.
Like, can they not add new people in as the game progresses? Is it just once they're in, they're
once
in?
the game starts, once you're in, that's it, you know?
Well, that is just freaking lame. I like the matchmaking because, let's just be honest, some of us, Ender, don't have any friends. And, you know, you need, like, to make people to play with. You need to have people to play with. And I can understand the idea behind it. What they should do is they should allow people to keep joining, I guess. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you can invite your friends or whatever if somebody leaves, if the other guys leave, but you can't. It's not going to randomly put somebody else in there. You know what I mean?
See, it needs to do
it's
that.
It's just annoying to get it started with somebody and then they just walk away from it.
Like, they should, like, that's probably why they didn't in the first place. Like, I bet you gamers complain, like, we need weekly heroic matchmaking, or we need, like, a matchmaking service for the weekly heroic. And they were like, we know that this won't work. We've been designing we designed Halo. We understand how matchmaking works. And everyone, of course, is like, no, we know more about anything. We paid for it. And yeah, now they're proven right, which makes you wonder if everything, maybe that's why Destiny never gave it a story. Maybe there's something to it that we don't know, just like with the matchmaking. But I agree. I think it's lame. It's lame of you out there, any of you players out there, who you join a game and you leave. Shame on you. I'm doing the shame fingers right now instead of playing a video game. Shame on you.
Or like, what happens a lot in strikes now too is like everybody starts and one guy just sits back and lets the other two do all the work. I'm guessing so that he can get that achievement for not dying in a strike, so he just doesn't want to risk it at all. That's something I can figure. That's annoying as shit. I mean, don't be such a piece of shit in the game, you know? Help out your teammates.
Like, we know real life
I hate
calls,
that guy more than I hate the guy that leaves. At least the other guy just left, you know what I mean?
He didn't, like, stick around and let you do all the work, essentially.
Exactly, just so he could reap the benefits.
I mean, it's lame. It's lame out there. It's human behavior, and it's lame human behavior. But I mean, I don't know what to say. What are you gonna do? Wow, both these people just died. I suck. Speaking of lame human behavior, werewolves. So the Order 1886 just came out February 20th, and apparently the reviews on it are just terrible. I was looking. I think it got like a 3 on Metacritic. And I think every gaming website was giving it like half of their max value score. So like if they go to 10, they were giving it like 5. They go to 6, they were giving it 3s. Like apparently the game is just like bombing with critics.
I think it's getting judged kind of harshly because they expected so much more from it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, it is Ready at Dawn's first console. Like they made great Vita games. They made great like handheld games. They were, this was like their first foray. I think people just wanted them to be good. I mean, my attitude about it is I'm looking at the story, and before you knew I was excited about it. I was like, oh, I can't wait for the Evolve and the Order were like my 2 games of February. I was so excited to for them to be released. Yeah. And of course, I think it didn't help with that 5-hour leak on YouTube that happened where everyone thought like the game was going to be 5 hours, which turns out the game is really only about 7 or 8 hours, which is kind of short in today's world. We went over that, about what we think about that. But,
yeah.
My attitude was, it's just you had so much promise on paper. Mustachioed Victorian-era steampunk guy, Lycans, first-person shooter, a new engine that's great, and you completely just bomb it. Which made me start to think, and we were talking about this last night, I don't think the game is a game. I don't think the Order 1886, which is by Ready at Dawn, it just came out, I don't think that game is actually a game. I think it's an extended demo. I think Ready at Dawn, because they were designing also at the same time their new RAD 4.0 game engine. It's their own internal game engine they created for this game, or for their games. It's a console-specific game engine. I think they created the Order to show other game developers what their new engine can do. I think the game, and they just kind of slapped it together as a game to kind of make a little money on the side, But I think they're really trying to show people, because the game looks beautiful. One of the things that every review is saying is the game is graphically gorgeous. It is like looking at young Elizabeth Taylor. That's what everyone says, like looking at that game. And I think they're trying to show off their game engine capabilities so they can license the game engine, and they're actually going to make their money that way. I mean, put on your tinfoil hat, but that's what I believe.
It makes sense when you think about it. I mean, this is the right time to do that. New consoles, everybody's kind of like scrambling to figure out how to have those next-gen graphics. And if they made an engine that can do that, you know, it's the right time to sell it. Right now, everybody needs it.
I mean, I will say,
that's a good point. It might very well be the case.
I mean, I don't. It seems too conspiracy theory for me. I know that, but deep down, I think that the game is not a game. Like, I think they were trying. Like, there's a lot of QTEs, there's a lot of cutscenes, there's a lot of dialogue, and it's gorgeous. There's a lot of atmosphere, and I think they're trying to show their engine's capabilities for other developers to start licensing. Because, you know, you gotta understand, there's even more money to be made in your game engine if it's a popular, usable game engine than there is in necessarily making the game. Because a lot of game engines, when they license it, they get a fee from every unit you sell of a game, or they have a subscription service. It depends on the engine. But I don't know. I just think, because how do you bomb steampunk, mustachioed, Victorian era lichens? How do you, like, those four things? If someone would have said that, wet dream, like immediately wet dream for me. Like, I can't believe that that's a real thing that somebody's making.
Everybody was super excited about it.
They showed the screenshots and you go, it looks like that? Whoa, this is going to be fantastic. Like, my mind was it was going to be the first new gen like game, the real first new gen game, because the game engine is designed for the new gen consoles. It's, you know, the RAD 4.0. But now I'm starting to think, yeah. And you mentioned something too I thought was really interesting. You think that the game is actually going to be the new package game that comes with the PS4.
Oh yeah, that's what they're going to do for sure. I mean, if the sales, if the numbers are for the ratings for it are so low, they're going to need to move those anyway, and because they want to be able to say this game sold 6 million copies, you know, and maybe 1 million of them sold legit, and the other 5 were packaged with PS4s. You know what I mean? But they get to say, you know, it moved 6 million copies. That's how they keep that franchise alive. Also, because frankly, if it did that bad, it would be a one-hitter quitter. They would never make another game for that franchise.
And the thing is, the game shows no promise. From what I understand, the game shows no promise. I haven't reviewed it yet. Because of the mediocre reviews, I'm kind of holding off. I'm trying to rent it, but I haven't received it yet when I was renting it. I decided not to buy it to review it, but just to rent it to review it. So the review will be on theordinarygamer.com eventually, but right now, my attitude is I'm kind of like, there's so much promise though, because the engine does look great. The idea is great. Ready at Dawn is a proven studio, at least with you know, portable gaming, handheld gaming. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, like you said, I agree with you as well. I think that they want the numbers to bolster because they want to keep RAD alive. They want to keep Ready at Dawn. They want to give them another shot. And, you know, I think that cause there is promise there. It just was a complete letdown in comparison. And I like what you said. You think people are judging it too harshly because, yeah, the game was really kind of, more than Destiny, this game was overhyped in my opinion because it didn't have the budget that Destiny had. It didn't have the gravitas that Destiny had. Destiny had Bungie. You know, this is a new studio, and this was kind of like screenshot candy. Everyone was always like, oh, look at the little gameplay demo, the little 5-minute play.
When you say Sony exclusive, you automatically start thinking about games like Uncharted or The Last of Us, and you expect this huge, great experience. You know what I mean? I mean, when you judge a game against, when you judge every single game against Uncharted and The Last of Us, that's a hard thing to measure up to. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's not very fair to that game.
That's not fair at all. I mean, I don't think Naughty Dog should be. I think there should be a curve. There should be the Naughty Dog curve. So if you reach Naughty Dog status, or if you're like halfway there, you actually did a really good job. Because Naughty Dog is just untouchable, in my opinion, as a console game developer. Now, as a game developer, I don't know, because, you know, Valve is you know, pretty cool. A lot of people like a lot of the Steam games. They like a lot of Valve's, you know, ideas. But like Naughty Dog as a console gaming company, because that's what they do. They make PS4 games and PSV. You know, that's what they make. They're hands down the best. They're the best. But yeah, you're right. I think the extended demo 1886, as I like to call it now. I think it was you know, I think it was judged too harshly. But I also think they brought it on themselves because, let's be honest, you made that engine and you made that game look really cool. And not only that, you had a good idea. You had a good property there. Like, I don't care what anyone says. I mean, when I see a game that, like, looks like that, and it has those parts, you know, like lichens and werewolves, and but I'm just like, I mean, come on, man, you can't do that. Like, you can't suck at that, and you did. That's like the Lakers. That's like giving the Lakers or what's going on with Cleveland right now. I hate sports, but going on with Cleveland, like, you know, they get all these great parts, and you go, yeah, it should be great, and it just does. It's just not, and you don't. I don't know. Something's missing.
Why?
Well, I think I know why. I think they focus more on the development of their engine than they did on the development of their game, because there's a lot of money to be made in that engine, and I can tell you right now that engine will be successful if it has a agreeable license for developers, because it looks pretty. It's a pretty freaking engine. It looks powerful. It looks good. So I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, for them in that sense. Anyways, Speaking of games that look pretty, Lionshead is creating the new Fable. It's going to be called Fable Legends, and apparently it's going to be a free-to-play game. So if you are on a PC or you are on a Xbox One, you can download Fable Legends for free, and you can play together. It's an online-only, free-to-play game, and if you're on PC, you can play with people on Xbox One, and Xbox One people can play with people on the PC. You can join the same party and play with each other. But
that's the first time that Microsoft has let that happen, I think.
Yeah, like it's a pretty cool thing. I'm a huge fan of the Fable series, but here's the thing: because it's free to play, people of course are already wondering, is it going to be the free to play model? There's going to be a lot of microtransactions. Well, apparently Lionshead, who I've always thought were one of the cooler studios, to be honest with you, their games have always been kind of buggy sometimes. You can tell they don't have the best engines. But I think they've always had good ideas. Like, the Fable games are great. And I mean, if you've ever played Fable, Fable 2, Fable 3, they're fantastic. They're fun, ridiculously fun games, in my opinion. I think they're great. Actually, the first Fable 2 and 3 were the first games I ever bought DLC for. I ever actually said, okay, I will do this, because I had so much fun with those games on Xbox 360. But to get back to Fable Legends, apparently they know they're so savvy. They know that gamers hate microtransactions, and they said what's going to happen as soon as you download the game, you are going to get a story, and then they're going to release episodes every couple months. Essentially, it's going to be kind of like what Telltale does. So you'll get a story, you can play the story, and then you can buy new stories as you want. And they're going to have 4 online characters at all times, and they're going to rotate like every so often, which means you're going to play as a character, and then when you get back on 4 weeks later or something, there's going to be a new character you can play as. However, if you want to keep the old character you had that you liked, that you built all those stats on, you can pay to unlock it. Whoever character you want to buy, and any new stories are going to come episodically, kind of like the way Telltale does, or a lot of these other games do. We were talking about how we felt about it, and how do you feel about that, Ender?
I think it's a good idea. I think that shows confidence in their game. I think that means that they know that if you start this game, they'll do it in episodes. Like you can play all of this and enjoy that. And when you want to come back, because we know you're going to want to come back, you can pay, for this next episode and then this next episode. I think that shows confidence in the game. It makes it seem like something that you might want to play. I don't know how much information of the game they put out. Sometimes companies seem kind of confident about their game, but they don't want you to see the game until it's available and you've paid for it. You know what I mean? But when you're doing a free-to-play model, there's nothing to pay for, so they should be able to just show it off already. Yeah. I don't know exactly when it's coming out, but I haven't seen any kind of gameplay or anything from it.
Yeah, I don't have the date. Graphically, it looks just like the Fable game, so I wouldn't say it's pushing the envelope of necessarily a next-gen graphics, but I think it's cool of them to try to redefine the free-to-play model, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to eliminate microtransactions. They're trying to say anything you earn in-game, you get to keep. You can, and any like item, any type of customization, anything like that, you earn it in-game. And apparently, they're going to rotate characters every so often. So you'll play as a character, you'll try that character out, and then you can move on to the next character if you want. Or if you like the character you had, you just buy it. And you can buy it with real money, or you can buy it with in-game currency, which I also think is cool that they're allowing you the option to kind of play the game all the way through if you want.
If you grind.
Yeah, and I'm perfectly okay. Sorry, go ahead.
As I was saying, if you grind and build up the money in-game, you don't have to use your real money. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, they're essentially saying you can earn in-game money as well just by playing the game, and you can use that to buy the character as well. I think they're trying to say we're not going to force you to buy your character. Because you can play, but the thing is, you're not going to keep your character. It will come back eventually as you rotate. But if you like that character so much, if you've earned a lot of stuff on that character, you can just buy it. But otherwise, you can play as other characters until your character comes back, and you can just level up every character if you want. But what I also am okay with, though, the main thing I'm okay with here is I like the fact that they're giving you a story out of the quote-unquote out of the box, but they're also giving you episodic stories that you can buy, which that's a transaction I'm okay with, because that's like paying for DLC anyways. That's like saying, hey, for $5 you get the next, installment of a story. Now, how long these stories are, I think that will define it, really. Not so much the model itself. What defines it is the quality of what you're giving in that model. So if it's like a 2-hour long, 3-hour long story for that you're always buying, that to me seems like a great value, because $5 for 3 hours of your time, which is about how much people want to give to a game anyways in one sitting, if people even play the story mode. So I think it's a good idea. Also, it just makes Lionhead seem like they're just the coolest, savviest dudes in the room. They've always came off to me like, I think I mentioned before, they're British. They came off to me like pub dudes. Like, you just come in there and you're like, hey, have a drink, have some fun. Because if you ever play the games, they have a great sense of humor in the games, the Fable games. I think that Lionhead's a cool studio. I think it's cool of them to try to do this. My fear, as I mentioned earlier, and I hate repeating myself, is I worry that because they're published by Microsoft, and Microsoft is going to go, yeah, how about you still charge $1.99 for this, and you charge $1 for that? And that's my fear. Like, how much freedom is Microsoft willing to give Lionhead? Because I tell you, if it does prove successful, and if it does prove valuable, it'll be cool to see a game company go, we're gonna change this model, because they do seem to be savvy. They do seem to understand gamers hate it. Because
honestly, I think when I think about that, actually, Phil Spencer, who's now the leader of Xbox division in Microsoft, he's very gamer savvy. Like, he's a gamer himself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I don't think he would let that slide. I think he would know, like, that's gonna drag Microsoft's name through the mud if we've already said we're not charging for these things, and then we start charging for these things. And he's already done enough damage control without having to worry about something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he wouldn't let that slide. I feel confident he would.
Well, I hope so. I mean, one of the other cool things about this game, I hope he doesn't let it slide. I hope Microsoft gets with it, because they're starting to go the route of Nintendo to me, where they just don't. I don't know if they get it. I don't know if they understand the world has changed a bit, but I don't know. Microsoft always feels like they're trying to catch up with everyone else. Like, that's just how they come off to me. But if they can do something unique and cool on their own, that would be pretty fun. I'm excited.
I think Microsoft is always trying to catch up. Now, Microsoft is trying to catch up to Sony. Nintendo's trying to catch up to both.
What's the next big thing? And he's like jumping around, and you're like, oh, that's what's the big thing. He's like, well, we got to do it. We got to do it. We got to make money. And it's like, he's 80s guy. Microsoft is 80s guy. He's 80s businessman through and through, to the bone. That's what I think of Microsoft. It's just cocained up 80s guy, like trying to somehow keep up with everyone else. Nintendo is doing the whole depressed Japanese, like, we don't care anymore. Life is meaningless. A future is futile, so we're just going to essentially kill ourselves in the long run. They're committing harikari, or harikari, however you pronounce it, seppuku. They're committing seppuku in a long-term way, Nintendo is. They're just completely going Japanese now. They're no longer, like, mating with each other. They're just letting the population of their games die out. Sony, who is a Japanese company, though, seems to be more savvy to the world. They seem to be a more worldly company. They seem to understand that, people want some innovation, but people also want good games, and people want something to watch their movies on. People want kind of an all-around entertainment system, which they seem to do the best.
But they don't want to be sold an entertainment system. They want to be sold a gaming system.
Yeah. So they still focus on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. You're right. That's a problem. You mentioned earlier in one of our previous broadcasts that Xbox, that's their problem. They want to be like a Netflix system or something like that, which is just an overpriced. They don't focus on their games.
Yeah, I think they wanted. I think they just took it for granted that everybody that was a gamer already knew.
Yeah. That's
what they were trying to market for, and the problem was they completely ignored their base. The thing that Sony finally learned is, cause how many times as gamers do we say, man, I don't know why they don't do this. Why don't they listen to us? They just did this, How many times do we say that, and then nobody ever listens? They were the first ones to go, okay, we're just going to fuck it. We're going to do that. And everybody was like, okay, then we'll support you, and it worked out really well because they were the first ones to actually see if we just pay attention to our core base, they're going to bring everybody. Because when somebody's not a gamer and they're going to buy a game system, what do? They go to a gamer and say, hey, which one do I get?
Yep.
What do I need? You
I
know what
agree.
mean?
I
And
agree with that. Yeah.
When you get the base on your side, they bring everybody else with them.
And that's why Sony is number one. Sony number one. But
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. Like, you have to stick with your core base. Now, Nintendo is all about the games, but they're also all about gimmicks. And the problem about when I say Nintendo's all about the games, I mean they're all about the games they've already made. They're conservative. They're so conservative. They're ultra conservative. And it's not working because the opposite of being so conservative is progress. And there's nothing wrong with being a little conservative, being a little progressive. They went completely conservative and said, we're not doing anything but what we already have. We're not developing new things unless...
Which is kind of weird, really, when you think about it. I mean, these are the guys that created such iconic IPs like Zelda and Mario and Metroid. Why wouldn't they say, well, we did those. Let's make something else that's brand spanking new and knock everybody's socks off, you know?
I think it's the culture.
Do that more.
It's the culture of the company.
They've got the money to do it. They've got billions of dollars, and they're just a gaming company, you know? Just a console gaming company.
I completely agree with you. Like, you would think you have the resources, you have the savvy. They're not uncreative people. They don't hire uncreative people. Like, but here's the thing. You know, I think it's Glass Ceiling is where you can make reviews on the companies you work for. I think that's the website. And there's a big thing about people, like game companies, people who worked at these game companies were leaving reviews for the game company they work for. So you could read reviews about what it's like to work for EA, Tiburon, what it's like to work for Valve, what it's like to work for Nintendo. And I was reading these reviews because I got bored. And what was so fascinating is that a lot of people were saying Nintendo is very loyal to their old base. So if you've worked at Nintendo for 20 years, you're going to be made a management or an executive. Like, Nintendo is so good at having internal promotion, but the problem is that when you bring in these old guns bring in their old gun mentality. They go, this is what worked in 1992 when I was young. And so what the complaint was that Nintendo is a great place to move up. If you want to, like, if you start as a developer and you stay with Nintendo is very loyal to you. They will give you, you know, if you're with them for 5 to 10 years, they're going to promote you. You will be promoted. Like, a lot of companies, a lot of the problems that they don't do that. They have internal promotion, but the problem is that Nintendo, they said, is very...
You need new blood in there also.
They don't. Yeah, they don't allow that. They're so Japanese. Like, they're so loyal to the elders that the problem is that the elders sometimes have old views and don't necessarily know the new thing that's going on. You know, it's like, you know, you might have a grandpa who invented the computer, but he doesn't understand YouTube. And, you know, YouTube's where money is, and he'll never make you money because he's like, no, money's in the computer. Like, that's what's happening with Nintendo. You know,
Look at
Nintendo.
This calculator I added onto this thing.
Yeah, like Nintendo's like, you know, yeah, the Nintendo was like, the Rumble Pack is great. So here's, you know, we're gonna do the Rumble Pack, and like we're just gonna keep getting gimmicks, and it's like they're. But what I think is that's just the culture of the company. I think Nintendo is just the type of place where they just do that. Are you on the viewing the broadcast right now?
I tried to go to Twitch and it wouldn't pull it up for some reason.
Oh, because it was down, but it might try it again because we just got a comment, but I can't read it because I don't have it on my computer
We'll check it
for bandwidth issues. But
to the listener, I will check it and I will respond.
Awesome. Anyways, gonna move on now. We don't run Nintendo. That's Nintendo's culture. That's their prerogative. They can be as conservative as they want, but I think that's what's keeping. They create good games.
Yeah, I said all that, but I own a Nintendo Wii U, and I love it. I like it a lot. I think the games that they make are still fun to play.
See, and that's the thing.
It's a secondary console. You still need either a PS4 or an Xbox One.
I completely agree. And I was just about to bring up the point you've always made was that it's a good secondary console. Because what that is that just tells you that they are conservative because the games they do make good games. Mario is still fun, like you said. Mario and Zelda are still good, but they don't want to make new good games. They don't want to, you know. So bless them for sticking to their guns. But sometimes you got to go out. You got to go out and just take a risk.
Try something new, yeah. I'm sure they're going to. They have to, right?
If they're suffering, they might. Anyways,
they're losing money.
moving on now.